I've been asked to talk a little bit about some of the foundational ideas that led to vaccines. And this is a long story that's hard to do outside of like a 2-hour lecture, but I'm going to try and give you the highlights of the first vaccine. And remember, the first vaccine was against smallpox. It was developed by Edward Jenner. So the story is that smallpox, scourge of mankind, killing lots of people, lots of children, something that was a fact of life. Eventually, people understand that if you give people smallpox in a mild way, meaning maybe take a little scab of smallpox and put it up someone's nose, make a little scratch and rub a little smallpox material, they would get smallpox, but it wouldn't be very severe and it would protect them against other attacks. They didn't understand what that meant, but it was called variolation. And that was something that started to occur in the 1600s and 1700s, was occurring during the Revolutionary War in the United States. But variolation, because you were giving people actual smallpox, could kill people. It could spark outbreaks. And this is well dramatized in the HBO series on John Adams, when Abigail Adams had her children variolated. So this was the way that people dealt with decreasing the mortality of smallpox from about 25% to maybe 5%. But it caused outbreaks. It was very controversial. There was a lot of back and forth about whether this was the right thing to do. So Edward Jenner had been hearing about individuals in England that had been infected with something called cowpox, which was a very similar type of virus, but very much milder, who then could not be variolated because it didn't take, because they had immunity against cowpox that was protecting them against smallpox. We didn't know it as immunity at that time, but that's what they thought that's what was actually operative. And this was kind of a country tale. And there were individuals like Benjamin Jesty who had talked about this. Edward Jenner heard about this and then tried to experiment. And he basically would expose people to cowpox and then see if they could be variolated, and they couldn't. And that's where the first vaccine came from. He had no idea why it worked. This is before the germ theory of disease, but that was a major step forward in controlling smallpox and developing the first vaccine. And remember, the word vaccine comes from the word for cow. It was specific to this cowpox, smallpox issue. And that was the first vaccine. And it took some time before people actually understood what was going on. And that's where you have the ideas of Turenne and eventually Pasteur, who puts it all together and develops the second human vaccine. And then the golden age of vaccinology begins. But it all starts with this idea about making smallpox variolation safer.